Good afternoon. Welcome to Consciousness Unchained. You're here with the host, Dr. Richard Kuntz, and I'm here with my man, special guest, Mr. Jason Prophet. I'd like to introduce you all to Jason Prophet. Say hello, Jason.
Hello, everyone. How are you doing? I'm glad to be here, Dr. Kuntz.
It's my pleasure. My pleasure to have you on board. One of the things I wanted to get right to is I want to introduce the people to Jason Prophet, those who don't know him, and the role that he is in right now, which I believe will be phenomenal for our community. Jason was appointed as the education chair for the NAACP Sandusky Unit 3199. So I wanted to get right into it. Jason, I wanted to talk a little bit about your role. But before we talk about your role as the chair of the education committee, tell me a little bit about yourself. But in telling me about yourself, also tell me, why did you choose education as a career path?
All right, good question, Dr. Kuntz. Once again, hello to everyone. Glad to be here. Glad to be in the new role as the education chair for our local unit. Looking to do some good work. As far as a little bit of my background in education, I would say since I was young, I was very competitive in sports, and that carried over into the classroom. So I was looking to compete. So I think that drove me to want to get the best grade, get done with the test early. And I just think that fueled my journey into education. And as I start excelling in education, I started taking it more serious as far as understanding the impact it had on my life and the impact it could have on the community. So that's what really fueled me into education. As I got into high school, going into college, I didn't necessarily know that I was going to be an educator when I left high school going into college. But as I got into college, I started working more with youth as far as athletics and things like that. And then I understood the importance of athletics partner with education. So I said, this is what I want my career to be in. You know, I can help the students with their education and their athletics. I think they go hand in hand. And that was just my journey into education. And it's my life work now.
The other question, I appreciate you sharing that with us, but one of the questions I always ask my guests is about their experiences. And you mentioned your competitiveness. I wanted to know about your experience as it related to other educators in our system. You know, like for instance, I remember the best of my teachers, right? And I don't remember so many who I didn't necessarily think were doing the best job by me. But the ones who stand out are those teachers, those coaches who meant quite a bit because they poured into me. And I'm wondering about your experiences because we're from different generations.
Right.
And I wonder what that experience was like and if you could share that with the audience.
My experience was pretty good, I would say, overall in Sandusky. Like I said, I was very competitive. I think when I was young, that competitiveness in education, it sort of rubbed some teachers the wrong way because they couldn't really understand the competitiveness of it. But as I kept going, they started to understand me. I think that the best educators that I could remember is that they saw that I had some intelligence and they saw that I was striving to do well. And then they supported me in that. And I think the biggest support that an educator can have for a student is having high expectations. The educators who were the best to me were the ones who had a high expectation and they had a standard and they didn't allow me to not achieve that standard. So to me, those were the best educators. Now, I had some who necessarily didn't push me, didn't challenge me. And I think that might have been the worst experience I had. But overall, once I had some educators who, once they saw that I had a passion and a drive, they tried to support me and challenge me.
Yeah, I got you. One of the things, actually, there are a few things that we have in common. Quite a few things, actually. Jason chose to be an educator. And one of the things that is a little different, my path was a little different, as all of our paths are. But initially, right out of high school, I chose to go to the military, the Air Force. But that I just needed time to think about my life moving forward. And I needed just time to grow. But when I did decide to pursue education, it brought me back to, man, how can I give back? And my path was a little different because I didn't go into the public school system. I went into the professional career first as a journalist, but then realized, you know what? I don't want to be a journalist for life. How can I give back more? And I had the opportunity to go back to Norfolk State University, my alma mater, and teach journalism. That's when I was bitten by the education bug. So, you know, we have that in common, except the paths are different, but what I like is that you have that public education side and that experience. I have that side of higher education. So I saw the students who were coming out of high school and what they either lacked or some of the gifts and talents that they had. And you still have to find a way to work with all of those students. What is the common ground you see with regard to working with students that are pre-K all the way up to graduation, maybe versus what what you think they need to have when they're in a college setting, or just life skills in general? What are some of the things that you see with this generation of the students that are coming up now?
With this generation, what I see from my students, present and former, and community as far as parents as well, is that I don't necessarily think overall as a community we value education as much as we used to value it. I do see that. It's almost a thought process of it's not worth anything, or it's just going to give me a lot of debt or something like that if I go to college and then I'm not going to be able to get out from under it. So it has no value. With social media and the entertainment world now, a lot of students and parents are sort of thinking there's different pathways to success that don't include education. I do see that. And I think that leads to the day to day operation being kind of difficult for educators as well as students. If students and parents are not partnering with teachers and administrators in the school system in a collective belief that this has value and this is a path to having a successful life as an adult, then it's like a conflict of interest at that point. That's what I see from the time when I was a student, even elementary back in the 90s to where we're at in 2026. I went to school and a lot of my classmates went to school thinking that you go into college, education, that's going to be the pathway to success. Obviously, I played sports, so I believe that was a pathway as well. But I'm seeing now, it seems like majority of students and parents aren't valuing as much as we valued it historically.
I appreciate that answer. And actually, while you were talking, I picked up on some more common ground. And one that I failed to mention is that we both are athletes in terms of the sport that we chose. Although, when you start out when you're younger, you might try a little bit of everything. I,
Right,
I played
right,
baseball, football. But when I got to high school, I was like, man, I love basketball.
right,
This is all I'm going to do. I'm not going to take a chance getting hurt. And so
right,
this is a perfect segue into also talking about, because it's connected to what you said about this lack of respect for what education really can do for your life and how important it is. What I'm seeing is there are far too many parents who put so much emphasis on sports. And it's almost like, and I'm not saying, there are many parents who were athletes too, but I'm
right,
seeing a lot of parents who had not a clue, weren't athletes,
right,
but they want to live vicariously through their children. And what they do is they lack the respect that they need to have. Number one, for those who are coaching the sport.
right,
First of all, they've already made a sacrifice, right, to do that, regardless of what we think about them. And I'm feeling that, man, if you just put half that energy into dedicating yourself to what they need education wise, man, your child could do wonders in their education and anything they chose. So I'm wondering what you think about that. I know we won't, get bogged down in this
right,
conversation
right.
about it,
No,
but I'm wondering what your take is on
for
that.
sure. For our community, it's a very, very important topic. So just a little backdrop. After I finished playing basketball in high school and college, and I started partnered with a few guys and we started a basketball training company. So it's called Brothers of Basketball locally. A lot of you know it. A lot of your kids play for our organization. And the start of that, it was about hard work and dedication. So we really believed in if you want to be good at basketball, you really have to invest. You really have to prepare yourself. You really have to be dedicated to the sport and you have to work on your craft.
Yes.
So I'm definitely a proponent and I believe in investing and putting some time into your sport and your craft in order to be good. But on the flip side of that, I do agree with you, Dr. Kuntz, as far as I see that we do have a lot of dedicated parents, fathers, and mothers who really invest in their children's sports careers. I'm seeing that we're in the gym for 2 hours. We're spending weekends after weekends traveling. We're spending thousands of dollars on athletics, and that's great. That's one of the things that I believe that I help bring to Sandusky as far as me and my guys with Brothers of Basketball. But on the flip side of that, we have to be able to invest just as much time, resources in our academics. So if we can get out of school and we could train for 2 hours, we have to be able to also sit down and study for at least a half an hour to an hour each day, right? We're spending thousands of dollars on AAU tournaments, but we don't want to spend 500 on, say, a STEM academic camp, right? So just as much time and resources that we're putting into athletics, I believe that we're falling behind because a lot of our young men and young ladies, they're just consumed with their sport. And the percentages say that only a minute, small percentage of those people will even play high school sports, smaller college sports. It's almost hitting the lottery to be a professional athlete. So if you look at those percentages and those chances, I just think that it would not serve the community best to invest all our time and resources in that one lane
Right.
when academics and education could open up a world of opportunities where the percentage are much higher of having success.
Yeah, excellent. I like the thought process and what you had to say about, and in that comparison, when you talk about investment, the
Yes.
investment that parents make into sports versus the investment they make into the education of their children and their teenage sons and daughters. It's interesting to me because something came to mind. And each time something just pops in my mind, I got to speak about it. But when you were talking about that, there are these challenges. Social media has all these different things going on.
Mhm,
Some of it you just tune out. And every now and
mhm,
then I might be scrolling and I see something. And I was like, wait a minute, that's interesting. And it was one of those challenges where somebody walks up to a teenager and then they ask them to read a passage.
mm,
I don't know if you've ever seen this, but when they ask them to read the passage, it shows you the passage to the folks who are watching the video,
mhm.
what they have to read. And it's like they're struggling to read basic sentences. And I'm saying, what is going on? So that speaks to the issue.
Right.
And I believe that as a community, and I've said this for a while, there's so much that we can do as a community, but it has to be a partnership with these school districts. There are other school districts like ours.
Right.
And we're at a point in Sandusky where if we don't build that partnership, it'll only get worse. It'll only get worse as it relates to the education. We all know where we stand on the Ohio report card. We're in the bottom 10% of all school districts. So now's the time. I mean, I want to use this as a segue to talk about the upcoming summit that we have planned. It's a political action summit, but we'll cover issues that aren't just political in nature, but it's hard to escape anything and not say it's political. But education is political as well.
Yes.
And so we're going to have a summit at New Jerusalem Baptist Church coming up on Saturday, July 18th from 11 to 1:30 p.m. And I'm going to repeat that. The summit, it's a political action summit. Our voice, our vote, our community. Be there at New Jerusalem Baptist Church from 11 to 1:30 p.m. That's a Saturday. We have a special guest actually by the name of Dr. Calvin Cage. He's a native son. He will be here to talk about community mobilization, how we mobilize the community around giving the very best that we can to our young people and particularly to our students and our children. So that is sponsored primarily from the United Way of Erie County, who has given some funds to the NAACP Sandusky Unit 3199. So I wanted to hear from you, Jason, about this particular summit and what your role will be in the summit as it relates to education.
Okay, yeah. So once again, the summit is going to be Saturday, July 18th. I think it's going to be a great opportunity as far as politics and specifically education for me to start building that partnership that we're talking about with the community. Like I said, we got a guest speaker who's coming in and he's going to touch on some things that are local to us. And it's going to be an opportunity for us to talk about what the issues are as far as politics. And we're going to touch on some of the issues as far as education that relates to politics. We have a couple major things coming up here soon as far as school levies. As you know, we got positions that are being cut locally because of finances, and all of that is going to affect our students and our overall school district. So it's going to be an opportunity to have open discussions. I'll be there. You can speak to me. I'll give my insight on some things that are going on locally and potentially some things we could do moving forward to address those issues. But once again, the major thing is the partnership and giving the community a chance to get involved. So whether you're a member of any of the hosting organizations or not, we're inviting everyone to attend so that way you can hear what's being discussed. And if you would like to take part in any of the initiatives, any of the organizations, you'll be able to register to vote. You'll be able to register and apply to be a part of some of these organizations. And we could just start building that coalition of community members that we could address some things that our students and all the citizens are going through. So I think it's going to be a great opportunity for everyone to come out.
Thank you for that. I wanted to make sure that I would be remiss if I didn't mention that also involved in this effort is the Coalition of Allies, which is a number of organizations that are dedicated to also helping to uplift the community. And among those partners are the Ohio Alliance of Black School Educators, which is Tonda Maceo is the president of OAPSE. We also have SAPSE, which is the Sandusky Area Alliance of Black School Educators, and the president is Kiera Ford. The other organizations include the IMA, the Interdenominational Ministerial Alliance, President Janice Warner, and we also have some other groups that hadn't officially joined, but they plan to be there at the summit as well. So we want to make sure that you're all aware. The other group before I move on is the Sandusky Club of Black Business and Professional Women. So These are all of the groups that are part of the Coalition of Allies. Did you want to say anything about how you feel about your role as the chair of the Education Committee for the NAACP, and whether or not, as the chair, you're looking for some other folks to get on board with that committee?
Yes, for sure. So once again, the NAACP is a National Association for the Advancement of Colored People. So that's what the organization represents. So I like to stick to that as far as education. I want to help foster achievement for students in education. That's where I would like to assist the community in. And that's my role. Like I said, at the summit, we'll be discussing some things where we are not achieving and maybe some solutions and some initiatives to start getting to where we need to be. But definitely, as the education chair, I would like to build that committee up. If you join the NAACP, I'm open to accepting new members to the committee because education is so broad that we definitely going to need a coalition and a partnership with the community to address some of our needs. And I know that as community members and parents, sometimes it's hard to just deal directly with the school district or directly with educators. But if we're all together as far as the NAACP or just a coalition and partnership with the community, then you don't have to fight certain battles on your own. You will be able to get assisted by educators, professionals, and we have a lot of resources, whether it's litigation or whatever needs to be done to assist you into doing what's best for the students. So once again, at the coalition, you would like to talk to me about joining the NAACP education committee, I'll be there and we could discuss that. And whether you decide to join or not, we're here to assist you. So if you're not a member, don't think that you have an issue, reach out to me or Dr. Kuntz when it comes to your student and anything they need academically or education wise, we can start to help you out and start building that partnership to assist you.
Yeah, and I agree. I agree with brother Jason and what he said. You know, we're here to help you, and I'm not necessarily the type of person who feels like in order for us to help you, you need to automatically jump on board with the NAACP. But I will say this: when people have decided to step up and take on your particular issue or your case and do their very best to help you, it's difficult for me to understand why anybody, even if it just meant, you know what, I'm going to pay my membership just so I can help further the cause, why you wouldn't do that. And I think that's one of the problems that we face. I'm going to say it and I'll say it until I die. If we want to be stronger as people, then we have to be willing to see our own struggles and our own fight as everybody's struggle, right? Because that's what's happening. If you've experienced something in your life that you're going through, trust and believe so many others have. And collectively, if you stand together, the chances are, because you said it best when you said, you know, sometimes it can be difficult to talk to educators or administrators and principals and so on. And if you want to go up the ladder and even talk to the school board, well, you know what? Your voice will be heard when you come together collectively to address a problem, because there's always this time where the school district needs us. They need us. And so we have to make sure that we stand together in order to address these problems.
Yes,
So
I would like to just piggyback on that to wrap this up. Definitely, I see that from when we're talking about my experiences and my history, whether it's athletics and education wise, when it comes locally to Sandusky, a lot of times it's like if it's not directly affected me at that time, then I don't really want to be, I don't have anything to say or I want to stand on the sideline. And then when something directly impacts us, then we want to speak out. But at that point, the coalition isn't built, the partnership isn't built, so you don't have the backing that you need. So I would just say the issues that we're facing is for all of us. It's for the entire community. So whether you have a student that's going through it at the time, they could potentially go through it later. So it is your issue. Whether you have children that are not in the school system right now, but you might be entering the age where you're going to be a grandparent and your grandkids are going to enter the school system eventually, they're still going to have issues that we need to deal with. So we don't need to wait until those issues are at our doorsteps. We need to start partnering now, building that coalition, building that partnership to where when it's time to take action, we already have the backing for it and we're all in it together. So we could just go and fight these issues.
right, right. Excellent points. I also wanted to reiterate a point that was made previously. And it's not just about the education committee. There are other committees that you can join as a part of the NAACP. And I'd be remiss if I didn't say this. We're in an era right now where, yes, of course, you've heard of the NAACP, and in Sandusky, there are many folks, I was one of them, who get caught up saying, well, what do they do? What are they doing? When do they meet? Well, the bottom line is, if you feel like something else should be done, it won't be done without you if you don't bring your ideas. So when I thought that way, that's exactly what I did. And I believe Jason probably had the same kinds of ideas. We think differently, but a lot of times we're in that same ballpark that, hey, what are they doing? I got to find out. Maybe there's something I can bring to the table. This is what we're trying to build, is a new NAACP, a new NAACP. I'm not ashamed to say that, first of all, when you look at the membership roster for the NAACP, the average age, I'm guaranteeing you, is somewhere between 68 and 70 years old for the members. These are the people who are consistently paying their dues, or they've paid a lifetime membership. And I'm saying this, we appreciate those individuals. They've paved the way, they've paid their dues. And one of the things I have to attribute to myself and others, but we didn't do a good job of bringing on younger people to educate them about what needs to be done to fight these battles. That's the era we're in right now. This is what we're attempting to do right now. Join. We've already got probably about 15 new members who are a younger generation, I think all the way up to about 45 or 50, from 25 to 45, 50. I believe Brother Jason might be in his mid 40s, but I'm an elder and I'm going to continue to fight.
Lower 40s, lower 40s. Not me. I just got into the category. I just got there.
But talk about that a little bit, Jason, because I think people need to hear from people like you, and they need to understand those folks who are in that generation that I'm talking about. Like, what can we do as a new NAACP? You know what I mean? Folks like me would just be there as advisory roles, wisdom, so on and so forth.
Right, I just be that. So anyone who knows me personally, we can have conversations. We get into conversations. I got a lot of ideas politically, historically, culturally. But over the years, I noticed that every time I would speak to people about things, they're like, man, that's great. We need you to speak out. We need you to be in the front line. We need you to be talking about these things. So I just decided that ideas are great to talk about. In this generation, a lot of things that goes on, we all are outspoken on social media. So if something negatively happens, whereas locally around the country, I'm seeing thousands and thousands of Facebook posts or Twitter posts, X posts. That's good. But a lot of times nothing happens with just conversations or just saying how you feel about an issue. So we need to take it off of social media, because I see a lot of great ideas, a lot of great perspectives, but they stop right there with the social media posts. Now, if you would bring those ideas to an organization collectively, we could expand on those ideas or those beliefs, and we could start creating initiatives and agendas to get things done to address that. So I think with the younger generation, we think our social activism or our participation could just be a social media post and, oh, I'm woke, or, oh, I spoke out, I played my part. But a lot of times that doesn't happen. If we're not voting, we're not registered to vote, if we're not taking part in school board meetings, city commissioner meetings, and just a lot of other things, then nothing happens. So I think for the younger generation, we need to get back into actually mobilizing and moving in real time on the ground and not online.
Yeah, absolutely. That was excellent. That wrapped it up better than I could wrap it up, in terms of what we need and the importance of actually getting involved, because I can't think of any other organization in our community that's designed to handle those issues that is doing the work. I hear about other organizations that aren't specifically related to, particularly that are related to Black folks. I'm just going to be real. You have some other issues, and sometimes it's important to join those efforts as well. But you need to be focused on the issues that affect you most and your children and your family. And so, I think what Jason had to say about that, man, is excellent. It's on point, particularly now. We've seen what's happened to us over the last 35, 40 years. And I can say this as an elder, that I can't think of another time in my lifetime that was worse than where we are now, in terms of educating our children and our teenagers, in terms of the values that we have. And I'm not saying that on some position, like some position on high. I'm saying that as an individual who's been through changes, who hasn't made the right decisions and the best decisions all my life. Nobody's perfect, but I'm willing to tell you that and turn it around. I'd rather listen to people who have been through some struggles, who have done the wrong things, who said, man, I don't even know what I was on. But once I saw the light, those are the folks that can help us most. And I believe we got a lot of folks like that in our community.
Yeah, I agree with you, Dr. Coach, as far as this is not exclusionary. I don't want anybody who's a tax-paying citizen, parent, to think that their voice is not valued. Like I said, I believe in education, but I don't think if you don't have a certain level of education that your voice doesn't matter or
Right.
you don't have a great idea. I don't
Right.
want anyone to feel because of their past or things that they might have been associated with or mistakes they've made that their voice doesn't matter. Like I said, it's a collective effort, and we just all need to get involved because I think that we all have great things to bring to the table, no matter of certain situations.
Right, right. Because there's too much separation between us as people for various reasons, and the reasons aren't valid. And I'm gonna give you a good example. I think that throughout the years, of course, there are some good ministries out there. There's some people who are trying to do the work in the community. But what I challenge people to do is really hone in on the ones doing the work. And if they're not doing the work beyond the walls of their congregation, then what's the purpose? If you're supposed to live a particular way or you're trying to live a particular way that says, man, I care about my brothers and my sisters, and I particularly care about their families and their children, we have to work on behalf of each other. I don't care if it's a congregation, a pastor, or efforts that don't align themselves with who they claim to follow, and that is Christ, as far as I know, for Christian churches, or to do what Allah commands of them to do, whatever it is. I see too much of that. And we have to break that down. Even during the civil rights movement, I'm not going to bog us down with this conversation, but there was some separation there. There were people who were in the church who separated themselves from the people in the streets. And I just had this conversation the other day, Jason. I said, one of the problems, and it's been a problem for a long time, is that there are people who are in the church who will look down their nose at the people they're supposed to be helping. And it's killing us as a community, because some of these things that we've allowed to manifest and fester in our communities are a result of the people who might have been in the streets and they didn't see a reaching hand for them. They didn't see anybody talking to them and saying, you know what, you can do better. And let me show you how you can do better. I'm there for you. That's missing. And so what ended up happening is that those things that have always existed, by the way, I don't care whether you're talking about drug dealing, pimping, prostitution, anything that is considered, you're better than that. Those have always existed. But the script flipped when we made those things acceptable. We said, oh, it's cool to do that. It's cool to get high. Yeah, I know that marijuana is legal, but I'm talking about those drugs that are killing people: fentanyl, heroin, cocaine. And yes, yes. And so that's where we are now. So we have to break down those barriers. What do you think about that? I'm sorry, I didn't mean
No, you good. I
that.
like what you said. Overall, I think that we have gotten away from thinking of ourselves as a collective group. That's where a lot of the separation comes in, whether it's spiritually, with inside of a certain religion. There's a lot of different denominations, and like you said, different churches, different things like that. So it's like a lot of separation. There's a boule class, there's an educated class, there's a street class, there's a religious class, and there's so much separation that we're so divided we can't get anything done. So I would say we got to get back to thinking of ourselves as a collective community. And when we think about it like that, I'll use a sports term, you're only as good as your worst player, basically.
Mhm.
So no matter how much I individually elevate or you individually elevate, if I'm thinking about myself as part of a collective, I'm only as good as the quote unquote lowest of my group,
Yeah, the weakest link.
the weakest link of my group.
Yeah,
So I got to look at it like that. So wherever we're weak at, I'm weak there.
right,
So it's our job as a community to pull each other up, provide opportunities for each other to elevate without judgment,
right.
without judgment. Now, we're going to set a standard to where we just can't accept anything,
Yes.
and people have to strive to do better, maybe change their ways some, but we can't look at it as far as looking down on anyone and exclusionary because we're not strong enough. We don't have enough numbers to exclude each other.
That's
We
right.
have to work together to get things done.
That's right. Absolutely have to work together. And so I wanted to take some time to reiterate a previous message, and that is the summit is coming up, the Political Action Summit, and it's just one of 4. We will have one every month. The first one coming up is July 18th. Saturday, July 18th at New Jerusalem Baptist Church. And we're looking for those who want to be educated, those who want to know about the issues, those who maybe haven't registered to vote. We want to tell you about any particular laws on the books. At our second summit, by the way, we'll have a board of election representatives to talk about some of those things. We'll be able to get into some conversations with some candidates. We'll talk about upcoming issues like the school levy. We need to be able to be candid about those issues. We also need to be able to talk about what's at stake and stop buying the rhetoric that you always have to do something because somebody tells you that's what you have to do. You got to think about these issues. So, and the other thing, you brought this up, I'm glad you brought it up, Jason, is that we're going to continue to push to build this new NAACP. We're going to continue to push. I know we've got about 15 new members. We'd like 50. We would like 50 right now within the next month, if we can get 50. So reach out to us. Let us know what you think. Send us a message. How can people contact you, Jason, if they want to talk to you about any particular issue?
You can reach me by email at streak14@live.com. That's my email. If you want to reach out, you also can contact me through the NAACP. If you want to use our local email or our local contact number, I don't have that in front of me, but we could probably add it to this podcast, just contact information. And when you just see me around town, that's what I was about to say. I don't know how much longer we're going to go, but I have a challenge for the community. It's a fun challenge, and definitely don't take it as a challenge as far as you have to do it. But everyone that sees me later today, I'm going to be going outside to a local basketball tournament, and just general, whether I'm at Walmart, I'm at the gas station. You guys know me for athletics, know me for sports and education, but everyone asks me sports questions and want to talk sports with me every time they see me. My challenge to the community is, before you ask me a sports question, ask me one education question or maybe one question about the NAACP, because I have a lot of information that could be valuable for you. So that'll start changing our mind frame as far as, our conversation and building that coalition.
Yeah, that's perfect. Perfect. I like that challenge. That's a challenge that I'm hoping that most people will take you up on. One of the things you gave your information about how they can reach out to you via email. I think it's important to actually spell it out, though.
Okay.
Some people might have thought you said street.
Okay. Yeah. No. Right. Not the streak like in my head, but streak14. That's STREAK 4@live.com. And like I said, you guys can email me there. And like I said, reach out to the NAACP and at the coalition. I have more contact information and initiatives that I'm working on that you could ask me about.
And I'd like to add to that anybody who wants to contact, you already got Jason's information. You want to contact me directly. The best way to contact me is via email. And that's RSKOONCE for RS Kuntz at gmail.com. rskuntz@gmail.com. You can contact me at any time. You can reach me via the email. And so we look forward to working with you all. We also look forward to seeing you at the Political Action Summit at New Jerusalem Baptist Church this Saturday, July 18th, from 11 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. Our special guest to talk about community mobilization is Dr. Calvin Cage, a native son who has done some phenomenal work in the D.C. area, D.C. and Maryland area. So we look forward to seeing you all. Tune in to Consciousness Unchained the next time we come together. And I'm going to leave Jason with the last word for anything he wants to say before we sign off. Go ahead, Jay.
All right. Thank you for inviting me, Dr. Kuntz. I enjoyed the conversation. To the broader community, I would just ask you guys that we all need to do it together. We are a collective. We need to help each other out. So reach out, get active, join some of these organizations, and let's just look out for each other. That's it.
Well, it was a pleasure to have you on board. I appreciate you. I appreciate your sharp mind. And once we actually post this particular video, you also, because it'll be on Facebook, you also can send messages via Messenger. So make sure that you do that, because I always get a few, but please hit me up via Messenger after you see this Facebook post. And with that said, we want to sign off and say, God bless you all.